We are back, and we just finished watching 2020's The Father. This is rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour and 37 minutes. We caught this on the Starz app, but it is also to buy rent on Prime Video. This is from playwright Florian Zeller, who's also the director here, with screenplay credits to Florian Zeller and Christopher Hampton. This tells the story of Anthony, played by Sir Anthony Hopkins, an older man who is going through dementia.
Yeah.
And his point of view of the events that are happening in his life currently. So the film jumps around a lot. And sometimes you're unclear of who's who and what's happening when. But I think at the heart of it, like we kind of discussed, because of his dementia, his timeline is all scrambled. And the people in his life are all a jumble.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing makes more sense at the completion of the movie.
Right.
Because you kind of realize that everything that you've seen is from the point at the end.
Right.
Like he's remembering all of this from the point where he is
currently,
where he is at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So the faces that you see where you're like, who's this guy? Wait, he wasn't this guy before.
Yeah.
It makes sense that now these faces are there. And through that, you could piece together the timeline of what happened between Anthony and Anne, his daughter.
Played by Olivia
Colman. Another
exquisitely
amazing performance by Olivia Colman.
Yeah.
As Anne comes to grips with the fact that her father is becoming less and less capable of taking care of himself. And you see that through basically the backgrounds of everything, and some things are very similar and it's a little confusing.
Right.
Everything is explained. Then you see like the faces of people sort of change. And switch around, and certain scenes are actually played multiple times because he's remembering it, but it's remembered in a slightly different way.
Right.
And it's disorienting. And I think that that's part of it. What makes it just great work is that you are experiencing this fog with him.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. It reminded me a little bit of Beau is Afraid.
Mm-hmm.
In that, in Beau is Afraid, you are experiencing the world through the point of view of a schizophrenic man.
Right.
So you're seeing bizarre, crazy
mm-hmm.
insanity just surrounding him, and you're wondering, this can't be real. This can't be real.
Right.
This is sort of like that. You are living through the point of view of Anthony Hopkins and experiencing. It's oh my God.
It's heartbreaking.
This is not a feel-good movie.
No.
This is just gut-wrenching, heartbreaking. You see him. The thing that like makes it even harder is he knows that this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
That things are not what they seem. And sometimes he fights it. Sometimes he really fights it. Sometimes he just goes with it.
Right. Sometimes he's trying to be clever, like, oh, yes, of course.
Yes, he's trying to be clever. Like, he'll see somebody in the apartment, and he has no idea who this person is. And at certain points, you know who the person is, but he has no clue who this person is.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just sort of like eyeing the person, wondering. There was that part where he comes into the room, and he's looking for his watch. And Olivia Colman says, "Oh, it's in your little cabinet." And he's like, shh. He like hurries her into the other room because he doesn't want Paul
or really James to know.
Paul, James, whatever, Anne's husband, who he has no idea who it is at that point.
Yeah,
to know that he has a cabinet where he keeps his valuables.
Right.
It's really sad. It's really disturbing. And to know that this could happen to any of us.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Age
doesn't discriminate.
Yeah, age doesn't discriminate. It's coming for everybody. You could take as many pills, stretch your skin over your bones as much as possible, fill your face with butt fat or whatever fat you could find. It's coming. Nothing's going to restore your brain.
Yeah.
And eventually your brain will
turn into mush.
It's only a matter. It's basically sort of like you're kind of betting for one of your other body parts to fail. It's like, please let my heart go before my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, it's devastating.
It sucks. I mean, it sucks. Yeah, it sucks either way. I mean, there's those lucky ones who are just like, I'm just gonna go to sleep
and never wake up,
and boom, dead. And
that's the best way to go.
Yeah, that's the best way. It's like you're just spry and, hey, everybody, how's it going? And then, all right, see you in the morning. And you just don't wake up.
Yeah.
Die with a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Then there's the people who don't remember who or what they are, and they are crying for their mom to come fetch them at the end.
So I had previously seen the end of this movie, and when that scene happens, I completely lost it. I cried like when my dad died. It was just, it hurt my heart. Can we talk about just what an amazing actor Anthony Hopkins is? Holy shit.
Seriously, it wouldn't work without him.
He is just
phenomenal in this movie.
Amazing. And it's funny because this was the year, I think, that Chadwick Boseman was also nominated, and he had just passed away. And I really was rooting for Chadwick. But after seeing this film, it made sense. I mean,
yeah,
it would have been nice for Chadwick to get something, but I mean, you can't beat this performance. This performance was next level. I mean, you don't even know where he starts and the character ends, right? It's so intertwined. The other thing I wanted to say was I also appreciate this storytelling from an older person, because even though it's muddied and disjointed, it's still the perspective of somebody who's lived a life, right? We'd seen Thelma earlier this year, and that's also from the vantage point of a 90-year-old who's just living her life. She's obviously more there together mentally than Anthony is here, but it's still from the vantage point of somebody who's lived a life. And in this life, so many pieces are missing because of the dementia. So when we start the film, it feels like it's right before Anne's decision to bring him to the assisted living home, right?
Yeah.
And from there, sort of like you highlighted, we go in and out, and there's subtle changes. Like towards the beginning of the film, when he's in the kitchen is different. It's like this brown, dark, with tiles.
The decor is different. You'll notice it also on the front door.
Yes.
And also in the kitchen. But the thing where they confuse you a bit is it's the layout of the apartments are identical because they're supposed to be not too far from each other, roughly the same type of building. So the architecture is the same.
Similar. Yeah.
So there's that layer of confusion. It probably wouldn't have done as effective a job if she lived in a luxury skyrise with glass windows everywhere.
Sure.
It added to the confusion.
Sure.
I really think they did such a good job as far as, I don't feel like any of this was supposed to be like, oh, gotcha.
No.
That
wasn't the intention.
Not the intention. It was supposed to make you be more in Anthony's shoes.
Right.
Because, it is confusing, and especially in his condition, it could be extremely confusing. It's no wonder he was always saying, how long are you going to be staying in my flat?
Yes.
Who are you saying that you live in my flat? He was so convinced that this was his flat, even when it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then later on, when they would tell him, you're living with your daughter now, he would sort of Anthony Hopkins' portrayal is so good because you see him bridle a bit, but then he realizes, okay, this is my condition, which he did not want to admit to, at least not to anybody else. He would never admit to anybody else that he was having these issues.
Right.
It was always somebody else's fault. Somebody misplaced my watch.
Or stole it.
Or stole my watch.
Yeah.
We just had dinner or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because even in the beginning, when she starts to tell him about going to Paris, his immediate reaction was, well, what about me?
Yeah, what about me?
What about me? And he's upset.
Yeah, when will you visit me?
Right. And he's upset because, like you said, she's probably the only one that he's going to be that candid with, right? There's also scenes of, getting back to Sir Anthony's performance, where he's lovable, but then he turns and he's almost menacing and just mean and belligerent. And those scenes are kind of scary.
A little bit, yeah, especially because the person he's basically being abusive to is this young girl, Imogen Poots, playing, I guess, Lucy and Laura. And she's been told ahead of time by Anne that, yeah, he can get belligerent. And you don't know what that means at this point. You don't know if it means physical or anything like that.
Right.
And prior to that, he's almost like manic and gleeful.
Right.
And then he turns it on a dime.
Yeah. That voice, his presence, it's menacing. Imogen Poots is like this skinny little thing.
Yeah, but then, I mean, she wasn't disturbed by it, or at least it didn't seem.
Yeah.
But that's part of the added confusion because there's like one scene where you realize, she was his assistant for at least a decent amount of time.
Right, but then I guess...
But apparently it wasn't, Anne
decided, I'm leaving to Paris, so she brings him to the place and she sort of tries to we need to make this decision for you.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really she was just trying to, I guess, smooth it out, but the decision was already made. And like you said, I mean, she was in a relationship with this new guy, Paul, and she couldn't put her life on hold anymore. It wasn't fair to her. She had been a really great daughter.
Plus, it's just, I imagine it was hard, like she said, to keep an assistant because he kept driving them away. Right. Saying they're thieves and whatnot.
Right.
And I think, wasn't that the discussion in the beginning before she said, I'm going to move to Paris?
Right.
So I'm guessing
because he had just ran off. I think her name was Amanda or something.
Angela.
Yeah.
Who I guess was the actual Lucy Laura.
Or there might have been another one after.
I don't think they would have mentioned that one
or maybe she was before, right? Because the timeline, that would have been like when she was after the divorce.
They said there was one. They said that there was one before Lucy and Laura. I'm just going to call her Laura. They said that there was one before Laura, but they never named that one.
No.
The one that they always name is Angela.
Right.
So I'm guessing...
And she was the third one.
Because Laura didn't exist, really. That it was actually Angela. And once that one ended, because that one seemed to be so good, the relation, like he was working with her, but then he ran her off, and then she's like, I need to move to Paris.
I don't know. I mean, Laura could have existed before Angela because from the timeline, it seemed like Laura was contracted around the time that Anne was still married to James.
True.
Because he comes into the room, James, who's really Bill, which is pretty funny. Although they call him Paul, right? So it's like that was the thing that also, I think when I first watched the film, I hadn't seen it from start to finish, but I'd seen most of it because I had seen the scene with Olivia Williams being Anne. Right. So when Olivia Colman becomes Anne, I'm like, wait a minute, what just happened? Because I didn't get that it was from his point of view originally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, afterwards, you think about it and stuff, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then, that scene at the end just, I think, proves it.
That's why this film is so effective.
Yeah.
Because it confuses you.
Yeah. Much like dementia.
It tells you the story and it confuses you.
Right.
Because you're living through his experience.
Right. And his experience is all jumbled because of the dementia.
It's all jumbled. It's not even just, I forgot stuff. He's blending in past, present, and future.
Yeah.
And all of these memories that he's having. I'm not saying he's like seeing the future, but
no.
It's just because we're watching it from his current position, which is in the nursing home.
Right.
And it's sort of like a journey through his memory. Like if you were to go to that nursing home and try and read his mind and figure out how he got there. it would be that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be just a mess where years are blending in together, people are blending in together,
Right.
Experiences are blending in together. And God, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying to walk into your home and who are you?
Right.
Oh,
Right.
Oh, okay, but wait a minute.
Yeah.
Isn't my daughter in Paris?
Yeah.
Or where's my other daughter? Why isn't she visiting me?
Right.
Who? God, at the end when he says, "Who am I?"
Oh, that's a knife to the heart, right?
Because he carries himself so well throughout
Right.
everything, even when he's trying to cover it and hide it.
Right. He comes
But
across
then,
strong.
but then at the
but
very end,
end.
he just crumbles into a child.
Yeah. He's like, "Where's my mommy? I want my mommy to come fetch me." That broke me. The first time I heard that and I saw that performance, like I said, I cried like when I heard that my dad passed.
Yeah.
I was like, this is just such a knife to the heart. Because you know that people are living through this. Families are being upended by this awful disease.
Yeah.
And time waits for no man. And we're all going in that direction, right? So, yeah.
I mean, as gut wrenching as this is, I recommend everybody just watch it. It's a compelling story, and
Yeah.
the
And it's not long. It's an hour and 37
It's an
minutes.
hour and a half,
Yeah.
and it goes
Very quickly.
It goes very quickly.
Very, very quickly.
It's very well paced. Everything is.
The performances are all top notch.
Performances are all top notch. The story is compelling. You really feel for Anthony. You really feel for Anne.
Yeah.
You kind of wonder what's going on, and then at the end, you were able to figure it out. Yeah. What would you give it?
I'd give it a 9.
I'd give it a 9 as well. This is
up there. This is Olivia Colman weekend, but this is obviously Sir Anthony's film. But she does. I mean, they all hold their own. She's not on the screen very much, but even Imogen Poots,
Olivia Williams, Rufus Sewell, whoever
Mark Partis, I think is his name. Yeah. For a second there, I
thought he was Percy from Blackadder.
You know what? Can we talk about James? Because James is Rufus Sewell, and he was abusing Anthony.
That's what it seems to be implying, and I believe that's
part of the reason why her marriage.
That's part of the reason why they ended. And there was another line in there that made me see, yeah, there's trouble here.
What was that?
The line where she says, "Oh, we met the new person. She's young," and he's like, "Oh, how young is she?" And she says, "Why? You think you got a chance or something?"
You're interested? Are you interested or something? I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So I'm guessing he was not
messing around,
a faithful husband, and apparently just not a good husband.
Well, Rufus Sewell has one of those faces. I'm sure he's a lovely man, but
he's got one of those faces that it's like you're the bad guy. You can't
be trusted.
You're the bad guy. There's a whole room of people. Is like, who's the killer?
Rufus Sewell.
Rufus Sewell standing right there. He's right freaking there.
It was him all along. But again, yes, I agree with you. I think that if you have gone through this will be a gut punch. So proceed with caution, I would say, because this movie will take you places. And if you have not, how very fortunate. And if you want to be immersed in an incredible storytelling experience, I too highly recommend this film. Sir Anthony Hopkins is just in fine form. Possibly one of his best performances.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. He wasn't like hamming it up or anything like that.
He played it straightly, but it was very beautiful. I mean, again, like we said before, the moments where he's sort of a jerk and belligerent, but then sweet, but then also like a lost child, and he goes from 0 to 60 very quickly. And it's got to be rough to be a person and in control, and then as time goes on, you're not in control. Well, he says to Catherine, I'm afraid of taking my leaves, right?
Yeah. I feel like I've lost all my leaves.
Right.
That the wind has taken all my leaves. They're all gone and the branches are bare.
Right. So this was a gorgeous but gut-wrenching film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very emotional.
Very emotional. Very emotional. I think, again, if you have experienced this in your life, I would say proceed with caution, because this will severely impact you. But again, I highly recommend this film. I think it's lovely and amazing. All right. Any final thoughts?
No.
Just highly recommend.
I highly recommend it. This film has a lot great performances. Just the way they told the story is so good.
Yeah. And it forces you to be present.
Yeah.
Because you have to really pay attention in order to understand what's going on.
And you'll understand what's going on, and it gives you that point of view of what it would be like to just have everything topsy-turvy. Just nothing makes sense.
Yeah. Again, The Father from 2020, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour and 37 minutes. This comes to us from director Florian Zeller, who's also the playwright. This was originally a play, and screenwriters Christopher Hampton and Florian Zeller. This won Best Adapted Screenplay and, of course, Best Actor for Sir Anthony. Do not miss this. Run, do not walk. If you have the Starz app, absolutely check it out. Otherwise, it's to buy rent on Prime. And with that, we will bid you all a
good night.
Good night.